I think that there's some trickle-down excitement happening. It's trickling down. I think the baseball world is believing in the Blue Jays a little bit more, right? It's still a long shot. Still a long shot. But there seem to be fewer teams that have a long shot at Shohei, which by my dumb guy math, less teams equals more chance for the Jays, right?
Yeah.
Like the fact that they're not out of it when some of these other teams potentially are.
You know what was the biggest, man, we're all just clinging to anything.
Hope.
But also like the scraps of information.
Well, this
from
is
the
it.
best insiders in the sport, and baseball has so many great insiders. And we're so lucky in this city that some of them work for Sportsnet, right? I had one of them on my radio program, Ben Nicholson Smith.
Yeah.
He gave me the biggest nugget, honestly, that I have received in the last couple of days.
So you two guys are putting us at risk of not getting Shohei. Good to know. Yeah. I've been refraining.
He didn't report anything, but here's what. So this is informed speculation between he and another unnamed executive. What he said was this person doesn't work for the Dodgers, doesn't work for the Blue Jays. It was a baseball executive, and the executive asked him, hey, would you take the Dodgers or the field for Shohei? And Ben, maybe hope like in the vein of hope, said the field. And the other executive said, I agree. Which to me is, so at last check, what would the Dodgers were plus 200 to land Shohei Ohtani. If it's not the Dodgers, so then you eliminate the whole Pacific Coast, warm weather, California thing. I mean, what separates, honestly, the Blue Jays from any of those other contenders, unless, okay, I get it. Like, there's obvious things that separate them, but no, then it's a total, like, if you just, the Dodgers is the one thing that have me thinking, well, this isn't a real possibility, because not only does he get to stay in California, he gets all the money, and he gets the team that actually wins, not the Blue Jays who are like hoping against hope they can win. And they won 89 games, and I know it hasn't happened in the postseason, but every year it's 100 wins, and they do, I know it was a weird title, they won one in 2020. Like, the Dodgers are the franchise. If you eliminate the Dodgers, then you really got me.
Yeah, the sportsbook I use still has the Jays as 6th.
Okay.
Behind Dodgers, Cubs. There's been a little bit of Cubs buzz in the last 24 hours. The Giants, the Yankees, the Mets. The Rangers, shockingly, have seemed to be the team that's dropped out of this thing.
Yeah.
But okay, here's my thought on it. It's trickle-down excitement, but I do think that it comes from stuff like that, where maybe, just maybe, he's not as sold on the Dodgers as originally anticipated, and that's being interpreted as like everybody has a chance, right? And so Blue Jays fans being one of these markets, like, I'd love to sit in with baseball fans in other places right now. Like, if you're in a room with a Cubs fan, are they having the same conversations where they're like, exactly this? We're obviously not getting them, but how crazy would it be if we did? And I don't think it's going to happen, but here's what I'm kind of thinking, and blah, 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 blah. I feel like that's probably pretty prevalent around baseball right now amongst the fans that are following the Shohei sweepstakes. But either way, I've noticed the uptick on social media. I know that's not everything. And I've noticed the uptick amongst the baseball people that I like to talk to in terms of their real feeling as though the Jays are still in this. I think that you can't dismiss the past and stuff. But ultimately, this is a little bit like Raptors rumors, right? In the past couple of years, where we know there's a cone of silence around Masai Ujiri, Bobby Webster, and it's really hard to crack that. Shohei's whole thing is secrecy, secrecy, secrecy. And how many people are in his camp that would dare go against him?
No.
Right?
Nobody.
And if you're one of these organizations and you also know that any type of information leak could hurt you, where there's these small percentages, I got to think that a lot of the information that we're getting is coming from those like executives that are trying to read the tea leaves on the outside.
No, nobody knows, but like, you know who might know better than me is like somebody that works in a Major League Baseball front office, right? Or is like in closer proximity.
100%.
Like, that's what I'm like going through 3 intermediaries.
No, but that's it.
Here.
All I'm trying to say is that it's hard for me to really buy into some of the excitement when I go, where is this coming from? There's no way that Shohei Ohtani has a guy in his entourage who's like, I got Jeff Passan's number. I'm just shooting him a text. Like, you know who the dude who has been really plugged in on him is Jim Bowden. Jim Bowden has had really good insight into this guy from essentially going back to when he was still playing in Japan. He originally picked the Rangers. Like, when he came on here, he said, don't be surprised if the Rangers are in it. And all of a sudden, the Rangers were really in it. And I went, oh, my God, Jim Bowden. He knew it all along. And Now all of a sudden the Rangers are potentially out. So I'm just saying, I don't know. I don't know what to believe with this stuff.
Do you have a feeling one way or another whether this is is this laudable the way that Shohei Ohtani does it, that he's doing business, the way that he exists? I didn't realize that the name of his dog is a mystery. People saw the dog. They don't know his name. He won't release the name of the dog.
I don't know if it's laudable, but I don't know why it's something to criticize. I certainly wouldn't go, oh, this guy likes privacy when he's one of probably the most famous people in Japan. How many more people are more famous than him in Japan?
Yeah, probably nobody in Japan.
Yeah, and so he probably wants to have some peace in his life, and he doesn't like that people know his business. Who does? I don't know.
But here's what's not going to happen, right? Here's what hasn't happened.
I think it's pretty badass.
And here's what
nobody knows your dog's name is actually pretty badass.
Yeah, here's
he takes it to the dog park, and there's some baseball reporter there wearing a disguise who also brings a dog.
I heard a rumor from producer Jeff Hazaparty that the dog.
Then it must be true.
Then there's an internet rumor that the dog we saw at the MVP media availability or the whatever he had was a fake dog because his people have seen him in the wild with his real dog and it has spots, and the one that was in the video doesn't have spots.
Okay.
I would just say what you're never going to get out of him, and that what you don't need because he does it on name recognition alone, and the things that he does on the baseball field that nobody else can do is we're not going to have Mike Trout is the face of baseball, but he doesn't do enough to sell the game. Well, guess what? There's one person that does it less, and it's Shohei Ohtani. You're just never going to get that from him. He has to sell the game on just being Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah. So I feel as though, again, most of this is anecdotal. Most of this is just observations I'm seeing on Twitter. How often he's trending, how often the Blue Jays are trending. I know that some of these algorithms are geared towards the things that you look at. So there's that. The people that I know, the people that I'm just trying
to... The Vegas odds, are you buying into that too?
Somewhat, but they fluctuate so much now that
But it was plus 1,000 not that long ago. It's under that now, right?
Sure. It's plus 900, so I wouldn't say... Yeah, all right.
Yeah, it's moving.
It's plus 900, but the Mets and the Yankees are both plus 700. The Giants are plus 600. The Cubs are plus 380. And the Dodgers, depending on the book, are plus 100 or plus 200. They're somewhere in between there.
And you're going to have to pay him like he is because he's the top of the class outside of Shohei Ohtani. No, if it's not Ohtani, and I guess you can convince me that the Blue Jays can make a concerted effort to get Juan Soto, but he's not re-signing, right? So that's a pure rental, and you are... Especially if the Yankees are as serious about Soto as they appear to be.
Yeah, I was going to say, not only that, we should also put the disclaimer of, you and I were the first ones that were started doing the Soto thing. And then all of a sudden there was bloggers and stuff that were doing this all the time. And I saw Anthony Castrovins of MLB.com did this thing. It's it makes sense if you're trying to make the fantasy trade of Vladdy for Soto. But it's one of those ones where every person that has an ounce of Blue Jays knowledge about the front offices, there's no way they would do that. And then if you look at the prospects, again, it's a complete non-starter. They do not have the prospects.
No, you could do it if you blow up your system. If you include Ricky Tiedemann.
That's what I'm saying, though. They're not going to include Ricky Tiedemann in a Juan Soto trade. You would have to think, right? You would just have to think that they would not do that.
That's one of those where it's Mark Shapiro, Ross Atkins think that they're out of here. That's staring at the end of your tenure. Type of trade.
The biggest one for me on that is just didn't they have an opportunity to get in on Soto when he was leaving Washington? And they could have included Ricky Tiedemann, and everyone said they're not going to include Ricky Tiedemann in any type of trade for Juan Soto. So you go, okay, well, if that was then when you had more control of Juan Soto, why would they do it now when they have less? Anyway, there's this huge swing. These are now I want to get in the meat. All right, so everybody's going to be pissed.
That wasn't the meat? That was the bread?
That was the bread. That was a little app.
Okay.
That was a little appetizer. Because that stuff's obvious. We've done this stuff tons of times. This is all the things that have been done. I've done this. You've done this. Who cares? Here's my question. Okay, so we know how it's going to play out if the Jays are the runners-up, right?
I guess.
No, just people are going to say, of course, and then there's going to be the Twitter accounts I can't believe that you ever believed. There's going to be the Blue Jays apologist accounts that are here's the spin right away. Here's who they're going to get, and they're just going to make fun of the people because obviously the Blue Jays should try, right? But this is my point, is if you actually remove the pessimism around this fan base right now, and the idea that the difficult idea to grasp that they could be the runners-up, and that could just actually be a factual thing, runners-up or third runners-up, a team that was really in the mix but just didn't land Shohei Ohtani because ultimately they weren't good enough. Do you give Atkins, Shapiro ownership credit for being in it, or is it even worse that they did this to the baseball team, knowing that you were this close and that if you were a little bit better, you could have actually landed him?
Well, it depends we would have to know what the factors were.
No, you're not going to get the factors. You're going to get whatever the factors that you get are going to be disseminated by the team, right? Like, they're not going to come from Shohei Ohtani's camp. It's going to be from who has the most to gain. So most of the facts you're going to get are going to come from the people who want you to have the facts as presented to them, right? Like Steve Nash, when he and the Raptors didn't decide to get together, right? You want to say, look, we gave our best pitch possible. So it's the pitchers. It's the pitchers that want you to know how good their pitch was. Like, the only way it doesn't get out is if it turns out the pitchers are like, come here for far less than market value. We lowballed you. Then it's the agents that are like, we want to come here, but then we lowball.
The only reason the Blue Jays would think that they're involved in this thing is if not only they're willing to go to the level financially that anybody else
I think
is, that they're
definitely are.
Yeah, that they have to be under the assumption that they have to go above what, again, because the Dodgers make too much sense because they are actually the winning franchise, actually still in California, he barely has to move, and they actually have the deep pockets. So if you truly believe that you have a chance to land Shohei Ohtani, which the Blue Jays wouldn't be doing this if they didn't truly believe it.
No, they clearly, here's what I would say. They're clearly in on it.
I don't know how you fault, like if...
I know I'm
gonna sound like one of the apologists that you're talking about. But if
hold on. Shill talk with Ben Ennis. Go ahead,
Shill. If you offered him the most money, and you were a runner-up, despite the fact that there's not a lot of winning that's been happening here. Like, you notice, really, it's been a while since some victories, and like, it's funny how we view the 2015 Blue Jays, like so many of those 90s Leafs teams. It's like, wow, the best team ever, because they won around the playoffs, and they were World Series caliber, no question. And since then, it's been a whole lot of not a whole lot.
This is interesting. You're going to shill and disparage the most popular team in the last 20 years in this city. Okay, go on. Go on, big head.
If somehow you got yourself into runner-up position after winning 89 games and having no postseason victories in the Bo Vlad era, and that was the overriding factor, is like, hey man, if you guys had just done a little more winning. And I guess the counter would be...
You're spinning yourself in circles here. Like,
I know, because so your counter would be that, hey, you blew it already. Like, so that's on the front office for not building a winner in previous years.
Yeah, because here's what I would say. It's...
outside.
Here's my shill talk. You ready for my shill talk?
One last thing before you do your shill talk. Is like the Dodgers are going to sell themselves on, their regular season's 100... Outside of the bubble championship, they're also big chokers. They're chokers too.
This was not needed. The shill talk, the important part for me to say is that, and this is the worst part, is I genuinely believe this. The shill talk is, you actually have to give a ton of credit to ownership. That if they're in on Shohei Ohtani, that means that the financial commitment is insane, right? The actual guys that you should be upset at, it's not ownership. It is the dudes that ownership hired to make the baseball team good, because there was an opportunity here for them to give Shohei Ohtani the most amount of money, and you two guys didn't have the baseball team in good enough standing for him to come here. The problem is that we don't know if there's going to be like a geographical element to this or whatever the hell. There's things that are outside the control.
I think that thing already exists. Like they paid into the luxury tax this past season, and they won 89 games.
No. But this would be a different thing, man. If he signs here, we're talking about like George Springer makes what, 160 or something? What's George Springer's total money?
Yeah, it's about that.
It's like, and he's the biggest signing in Blue Jays history, right? 160 million. If they get Shohei Ohtani and he comes to
500
Toronto,
million.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's half a bill. That's quite a different ticket for one player. That's something where, everybody, if you're a baseball fan, no illegal streaming, right? You got to commit, all right? You got to commit. There should be a blood oath going around amongst people saying, hey, if Shohei Ohtani comes here and you get caught illegally streaming, you're in some underground prison. We never hear from you again. Yeah, moon jail. Yeah, you're gone. You immediately in moon jail. Like if I go to somebody's house and they have illegal stream on and Shohei Ohtani's taking swings for the Blue Jays.
I report people all the time.
Of course you would. Of course you would. But I'm just saying that would be beyond the pale to me. That would make me sick, So here's the second part of this, though, okay? Because I think we both agree, all right? Clearly, ownership is in on this guy. They're willing to open up the pocketbooks. I think the front office should get credit, the fact that they're still keeping him in this thing, that they even have the sales pitch for this, that Shohei Ohtani, even 5% believes he'd be a Blue Jay. I think that's good for them, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, now here's the bigger one.
It's also
if they did it,
his hero Yusei Kikuchi's on this team too.
Yeah, okay. But if that really mattered at all, he'd be going to the Mariners because he loves Ichiro, and I'm sure the Mariners have asked Ichiro to give him a pitch.
Yeah, the Mariners are done spending money though.
Yeah, but I'll tell you right now, if they signed here, Yusei Kikuchi should automatically get also a lifetime contract. It's not $500 million for Ohtani. Mm-hmm. It should be immediately like another $100 million for Yusei Kikuchi.
Oh, whatever it takes.
Yeah, exactly. He's immediately a level of excellence. Goes from being.
That's how I would sell it to Shohei too. It's like, hey, what do you want? Like, I don't know what you want. If it's money, we got the money. Obviously. Yeah. If it's winning, we can't control what our record was.
If it's dog privacy, we promise.
Again, Ohtani Dome, yeah.
Yeah. No, we've gone over this. Your manager, whatever you want is yours. Like, he should be given carte blanche. So let's say they do land him. Can you be mad if they suck? Doesn't this just, if they were to land Ohtani, isn't, you and I have done this before where you go, what's the closest thing to winning? Hold on. What's the closest thing to winning a championship, right? Mm-hmm. Is like, as a sports fan, you say like winning the first overall pick in the draft. And we did this whole thing of what is the highest of highs that you could feel as a sports fan? I think that landing Shohei Ohtani would feel exactly like the bat flip to me.
Honestly, I also think it, not knowing specifically the financials that come with signing a Shohei Ohtani, I think even financially, winning would be good. It would be a whole lot better than losing. But like being a 500 team, having Shohei Ohtani, the amount of money that you could generate from him,
that you convinced him.
There's only, I know that the saying is there's only one winner and 29 losers at the end of the year. But like maybe there would be 2 winners at the end of the year.
This is what I'm saying. Is, you know how there's when the Raptors won a championship in 2019, and then they were fun in 2020, but they got sentimental and they shouldn't have been. And if Masai was cold, cut it and calculate. If you look back at like, hey, when did Masai start to not be the Masai Ujiri of the past? It was running that team back, and we all loved it as fans. We did. I make no apologies. They were my favorite thing on television forever and ever and ever. But if he was cold and calculated, he would have said, okay, this team is not going to win a championship next year without Kawhi. I know they have the right to run it back, but I don't care. The whole reason that we won a championship is that I was cutthroat by trading away DeMar DeRozan. Now, if I do this with these other championship pieces, we're set up forever. Mm-hmm. I talked about this with Bonnie Jones yesterday, how like sentimentality in sports, that's poison now. That's now the worst thing that you can have.
I don't like that you talk to like maybe the smartest guy in sports media the day prior you talk to me. Like that's a little too contrasting. I don't like that.
Yeah, I know. I gotta tell you too. I felt so dumb.
Like dumber than normal.
Dumber than normal.
Wow. Yeah. But you gotta like lean into your dumbness.
Hold on, now you're derailing me because I'm a dumb guy. I can't remember where I was. So, like I said, the grace period that you get after a championship, where we sucked this year, but we won a championship, so who cares?
Flags fly forever.
Exactly. I kind of think Shohei Ohtani landing him would be essentially a championship. And people are going to criticize me for saying this thing. Oh, this is classic Toronto mentality. Is that you think that signing a free agent would be a championship? It's like, no, man. I really do think that this would be different. This would be the number one free agent in baseball, where it's not about, hey, John Tavares came home because he's from here and he wore the pajamas. This is convincing a guy who's from a completely different country who cares about nothing more than winning baseball games, and you convinced him to come here and spend his prime here. It's the championship. It's hang a banner. If they hung a banner in the Rogers Center, signed Shohei Ohtani, and they raised it opening night, I would have zero objection.
The front office gets their own rings,
buddy. Of the whole team. Give them, dude. Imagine you're at a bar. The year is 2048, and you're sitting there at the bar, and the guy beside you is wearing a ring, and you go, it has a big O. It's just a big O ring, and he's like, I was actually the hitting coach of the 2024 Toronto Blue Jays. And we signed Ohtani, and people are like, oh, and they pass the ring around. I'm telling you, it's as close as it gets, baby. It's as close as it gets.
Smash cut to Ohtani. It's July, and he's hitting home run number 35, and Vlad's hitting 250 with 12 home runs, and the Jays are a game under 500, and people are screaming.
Who cares? No, I just tell you, that's truly the only way that it could go south is if Shohei showed up here, and then it was the world's literally most famous bad contract where they went, oh, he took steroids and now he sucks. It's like Robinson Cano. Like, yeah.
Just, but the Mariners extricated themselves from that deal.
They did. But yeah, I'm just saying, and actually year one of Robbie Cano was awesome. But
the Chris Davis contract with the Orioles.
Yeah.
Which is like,
but that's what I'm saying. You got to be the famously bad contracts where 50 years from now, people are going, Shohei to the Blue Jays, the greatest sports.
No, it's honestly like there would be books written about it. You'd have to wait.
Yeah, but then we would have witnessed history too. So I'm not even against that. If he came here.
No, I'm saying like even in the positives, like that's the thing. You create signing Shohei Ohtani creates this other like secondary form of revenue and livelihood off of the signing of him and the retelling of the story of signing him.
How many tweets get deleted? Do you think it's a record if he signs here? The tweets that are Shapiro Atkins hate related. They're just the immediate scrubbing of all social media.
You have
like
a
those
lot
guys'
of
legacy
faith in people to have
perspective,
longer memories than I think sports fans generally do.
No, I don't. I think my faith is properly placed in this regard. As I think that people get their hobby horse thing, right? They get their when it comes to these like dividing lines, these polarized lines. I think that the Shapiro Atkins thing is very much like you're deeply embedded in hating
part of my
these guys.
identity.
Yeah. It's like hating Dubas or loving Dubas.
Oh, I was gonna say, like, are those people? Are they concentric circles on the Venn diagram, or are those separate people? If you hate,
No.
I think that
separate.
Shapiro. Well, really, you don't think the Shapiro Atkins haters also hated Kyle Dubas?
Oh no, I do think. Oh, buddy, here I think that there is a part of sports fan in general. When it comes to places that are traditionally tortured, that there is a underlying pessimism to the group that goes like, nothing's ever going to happen good for us. And that's part of your identity is, I told you guys so. I told you we suck.
Yeah,
when the team loses.
yourself.
Yeah, but it becomes who you are and you almost don't want it to change because you want to be the guy in the bar. And we all have friends like this. Close your eyes and then picture that person who's like,
I shouldn't do that.
Oh, you guys are dumb. Ha, you guys are dumb. You even thought we had a chance to win. That person. That very much exists in Toronto.
Won't allow themselves to hope.
But they do. It's just that's their identity now is that we're losers and they suck and that everybody's dumb but them. And they go on. And if they could only run the team, then everything would be better.
But yeah, if they sign Shohei Ohtani, that you're never allowed to not have hope again. Like it
changes. It's like
forever in this because you're right.
It's like Masai Ujiri saying believe in Toronto. All of a sudden, just Shohei Ohtani believe in Toronto. That's what I'm saying.
They
it's
landed
a championship.
Kawhi, but there's never been a significant free agent that's ever landed here. And the George Springer, they offered so much more money, and it was such a weird time, such an uncertain time.
Hockey doesn't count. Sorry. In this regard, when it comes to like an international free agent, like John Tavares isn't going to a different country, and people are like, "Oh my God, John Tavares."
No, George Springer would be the only one that because they stared down the Mets with their deep pockets, and
but there was also,
but
there was also like 4 guys that free agency, and the consensus was the Jays are going to pay themselves into one of them, and so anyway, whatever. I'm not trying to take away from that. My point is.
This is a different deal. This is the biggest free agent in the history of North American pro sports. No, man, that's a fact. I mean, financially, it's a fact.
Financially, yes. I don't know.
Kevin Durant was more impactful.
I was going to say LeBron, man. Like he had the decision. Like, what are you talking about? It's like LeBron was guaranteeing you championships. Shohei Ohtani doesn't guarantee you championships. So, like, yeah, that's good. That you just did a Skip Bayless, and you almost got me for a second, and then I remembered LeBron James.
LeBron is good.
Yeah, is that? LeBron's a good one. This is like, because I'm trying to remember who it was in the NBA who was doing the whole Victor Wembanyama is the greatest prospect in the history of all professional sports.
Right.
And people were like, whoa. And then people went like, well, LeBron was pretty, like, we knew who LeBron was when he was like 13 years old. He's like, yeah, for sure. He's pretty good. He was pretty good. That LeBron guy.
No, but you can talk yourself into the next LeBron free agency if you land Shohei Ohtani here.
Actually, I hope this doesn't end up being that way. Because remember the small people who did, I don't mean the small people, like the small amount of people. No, there's a small group of people that really believed that LeBron could sign here, right? Remember when he was up, They went, this kind of makes sense. LeBron could come to Toronto. He owns Toronto. He does this. But it's like, come on, please, for the love of God. So I can't remember who tried to propagate that, but it was kind of embarrassing. I hope that Shohei doesn't end up like that, where in hindsight, something gets
Can't wait to do that for Shea's free agency in 27.
Either way, we all thought that the Yusei Kikuchi narrative couldn't have been a bigger swing from the year previous to when guys were wearing Yusei Kikuchi Cy Young merch with the Blue Jays, and he was one of the most popular Blue Jays pitchers. Hell, one of their most popular players last year. The greatest legacy swing ever in the history of the city would be Shapiro and Atkins if they landed this guy. It would just go from two dudes who are pretty much, Atkins especially. Like, what's Atkins' approval rating today, you think? If you pulled the city, like, could you find 5 people who think he's good and like him?
No.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, could you find 5 people where they're like,
it's not only the,
I know.
the
It's everything.
Bars,
It's everything. It's everything.
Package.
It's everything. It's not a single thing. Like, at least, like, Shapiro's like this affable guy. He goes on the Blue Jays broadcast, but with the start of every season, and he just knocks it out of the park when it comes to the way he loves the game and the way he speaks about the game.
And everybody loves the Renos, and he's the face of that.
He's the face of the popular stuff. No, it's very, very different. Anyway, all right, let's take a quick break here, because I think we've taken this as far as it can go. But I hope. I just want to put it on record that I'm not going to say that I told you so. I don't think he's going to sign here, but I'll just say this. Let me just say this. I had a dream last night.
Oh, my God.
About Shohei Ohtani signing in Toronto. Dude. I had a dream that Shai tweeted some image that was like an indicator of, like, Ohtani is in Toronto. Like, we all knew what the image meant. And I was freaking out going, oh, my God, I can't believe this is happening. So, for whatever that's worth, I did have a dream that Shohei Ohtani signed in Toronto.
2 things. One,
that's how much I'm thinking about it and believing in it.
You were the guy that dismissed this thing so out of hand like a month ago.
But that's, again, it's stages of my sports fandom and my brain.
Mm-hmm. And secondarily, you sound like Marco Estrada every time you talk about the 2015 Blue Jays.
Oh, yeah, we had the dream.
He had a dream, and we were...
Don't make fun of Marco. It's my guy.
And it's like, I'm sure you did, but like, that hurts. It also actually reminds me...
God, you went after the 2015 Blue Jays.
And now I'm going to go after...
Second most clutch guy that we've ever had.
My grandmother-in-law.
Yeah, I was going to say, like,
I'm going to go after her. Yeah. Because...
You are too good, but you're a liability. You need a second coffee, buddy.
When my wife was pregnant, my grandmother-in-law...
Where is this going?
My grandmother-in-law was like, I had a dream. You're going to have a beautiful girl. And my wife was like, yeah, really? Amazing. Boy. Second one, boy.
Yeah, but that's them. I'm talking about me.
Yeah, no, you're clairvoyant for sure.
Exactly. Anyway, just food for thought.